Operation Status Quo. Operation Status Quo, prepare to engage. Operation Status Quo, ready to engage. Operation Status Quo, engaged. Engaged. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, hello, hello. 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 Have I said hello yet? Hello. You know how much fun we have here on Operation Status Quo, how much of a joy and a pleasure it is to be together each and every day. Well, 5 days a week, basically. You never know what's going to happen, but we generally do 5 days a week here for you, the wonderful people out there of the world. I am Pete Palma. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me here today on Operation Status Quo, where, of course, we observe the status quo. We learn to flow with the status quo, and then we create our own flow of quo-yo, because that's the only way to go. And it really is the only way to go, no matter what. Hey, you know what? Even if everything in our world really was true, right? Like just say like everything, like it really is what it is. And it's not just some mirage of a show of it or this or that. Either way, you still have to kind of create your own flow of quo, right? Because you're still living the life every day. And even though you may be trapped in the confines of the general whatever it is, at some point you still have to, find your own way, even if it's still within the system. You understand what I'm trying? I don't even know what I'm saying right there. It's just, it's a crazy thing because everything's so fake. Our crazy world. Heyo. Yes, but it is, what is today? Wednesday, the 10th of May. Wow, we're just chugging through this year, right? The 10th of May already. Before you know it, it'll be, next week will be 2 months since Operation Status Quo came into this this form, as it were, coming up on 3 years of being on YouTube before you know it. Really crazy stuff, the way time goes and how much has changed and what's going on and everything. And anyway, that's a whole nother issue. But today's episode, ladies and gentlemen, is entitled Pavlov's Farm, because, I had a thought the other day as far as, Pavlov's dogs. Obviously, we have we ring the bell. There we go. We got the little Pavlov's bell. You ring the little Pavlov bell. And then, of course, the dog salivates, and believes that there's food coming. So, but here, but then I realized that in reality, we are Pavlov's dogs, in this society. We're no better than Pavlov's dogs. Because, Pavlov had the idea that dogs do not need to learn certain things, such as salivating when they see food. He said these reflexes are hardwired into dogs' brains. He coined the dog's food as an unconditioned stimulus and the salivation as an uncontrolled response. This response did not require, this is the important part, this response did not require any learning on the dog's part. So if you think about it, from the point of view of this is a guy studying dogs and, stimulus response type thing, and if you look at it from, of course, it seems like, whoa, this experiment, and we learned this little facet of psychology or, whatever, how it's, been touted over the years. But the realization, right, is that, that's a little experiment with some dogs. And if you look into the bigger picture, the people that, really run the world and keep things under control in their way, as it were, our handlers, as I would call them, they basically know all this stuff already. I mean, obviously they know this level of psychology in the sense, and everything in our society is the same thing as Pavlov's dog. You don't have to learn. See how he said, like, the dog doesn't have to learn to salivate, when it hears the bell, because the food is coming or whatever, it's a hardwired, just like we're hardwired. So the same thing, what they do with television, media, everything else, and create this world where our brains are basically being programmed like without our knowledge, and that's what really makes me say, when I talk about it a lot, as far as we have to have understanding and responsibility for our thoughts and what we're taking in, because we, as an entity itself, separate, not a body, not you as Joe, Mary, Fred, Jane, whoever the heck you are, not you as that, but you, the bigger you, right? The you that's in this moment as your, body is just like the dog. It's just a, stimulus response, stimulus response, and you as the bigger you, have to find that space to realize that, right? And mitigate it, because that essentially, even though you are, listen, the bottom line is this, right? You are a spiritual being having a, physical incarnation, this human experience. It's not the other way around, that you're some human hoping one day that you could become an angel if you're good enough or something. It's the other way around. You were already over there, and then you're here and you're having this human experience. So you've basically taken, this vast, love and everything, knowledge, and condensed it down into this little bloop of a observation point, which is your current incarnation. And you don't realize that you're being in the body. It's just like anything else. Like we're animals, just like the rest of the animals. Matter of fact, let me go over here real quick, because I was thinking this, and I was like, with the Pavlov's dogs thing, me with my sound effects, I was gonna go, the dog goes. Yeah, remember that toy when you pull the string, and then you go, and the pig goes, and we got the pig. Yeah, there's our little pig. And then Godzilla goes. All right, I'm sorry. I had to play just a little bit. I was thinking of that toy, remember, I don't know if you remember, if you're old enough, they had the round toy, and it had the pictures of the animals on it, and you would, it would pull the string, and it would spin around or whatever, and land on the elephant or the monkey, and go, the monkey goes, ooh, 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 Hey, those were the good old days before cell phones, you didn't have Candy Crush, or what was the other big one with the Angry Birds, right? I know that's a little old now, but I never played any of these things. But anyway. So going back to about being programmed, and that's exactly what's going on, like in our society. And I mean this from all facets, like in the sense of, like, think about how programmed we are. We are just like Pavlov's dogs in a sense. You push a button. And the light goes on, or, you do whatever, push another button, the oven turns on. Like, there's nothing to think about. Even for food, like, you just walk into the store and pick it off the shelf. Like, there's no, it's just all like stimulus response type behaviors. And then on top, that's just like the normal stuff, like the conveniences, I guess, in the sense of our technology. But, most people are unaware of like how to actually make something work. They just know to push the button. And then if it doesn't work, you got to call somebody to come try to make it work. Whereas, we, like anything else in our world, the underlying, the true nature of what's going on is never really taught, just like the little, at the end, like you just push the button. And on top of it, I mean, and even more so towards our social conditioning, right? By this age, even with like school, 5th grade, you learn this, 6th grade, you learn that, whereas, it should be more of just a natural process as opposed, and that's just school, right? And then you think about, okay, then you hit this age, now you have to either get a job, or you join the military, or you go to college, or you do all of them, or you do none of them, but at that stage, then you're supposed to be married, by about this time, and then you're supposed to have a baby by about this time, and, and everyone, it's just a program running, right? And if you think about our society and, going into all the things we talk about here on Operation Status Quo, is this program that's set forth for us, that's, kind of pumped into our brains, is a detriment to our life. We never grow up with a space of, let's just kind of blossom into, what you're supposed to be, or identifying like skills that a child has that are like, really proficient, whatever I was just talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and we were having this conversation. He was talking about everyone has a level of genius. Everyone, what is my genius? What is your genius? And that's exactly what I kind of like when I talk about how I would love for people to participate on the show and come on and express who they are and the things that they do. And I agree, because we all have a level of genius in some way. We're all gifted in some aspect to provide for as a group, and that's that's like how we've been separated. And again, this program, Pavlov's Farm, is basically what we're living on in this world, by our handlers that are creating this dynamic to keep us basically separate and away from each other, and never really kind of going inside and learning who we really are. If it was another way, elders would be obviously at a certain level, because they would have come up a way, right? Let's just start with the elders and say that they're wise elders, and they know when a child comes in, a new child is born or whatever, they're looking for, what does this child excel at? And then try to, not say have to force anything on a child, but guide them in that direction, or kind of make, allow, opportunities for the child to participate in, the activities and such that are geared towards their strong suits, right? I mean, wouldn't that make sense for us as a society, if you have someone that's like, a master carpenter and you can see like this little kid, 3 years old, is crawling around and, building a little doghouse out back or something. Oh gosh, we're back to the dog. I'm not going over there. Forget the sound effects. But, you would say, oh, well, let's not, he shouldn't, we want him to be a chef or something, or we want him to do something different. So let's not enhance that skill. But really, if the kid is able to do it from day one and he is a natural, or she, whatever, is a natural, basically then, it helps the community down the line, right? Because that person grows up and doesn't even have to think twice. They're quote unquote, genius. That's what flows from them naturally. They're able to live their day feeling like they're satisfying themselves in regard of they have something positive to provide to the group, as well as the group is receiving something positive in return. So like it's a win-win. And when you think about it, from how our world is, I mean, everyone's kind of pigeonholed, and people who really, especially the creative side of things, it's always been poo-pooed upon, as it were, arts and music and things like that. I mean, those are always the things they would cut first in a school budget, right? Like, oh, we don't really need art and music. We got to concentrate on math and science. And, you see, they talk about science or where about science so much, but I mean, for God's sake, you saw what they did with the pandemic. They knew all about science there. That's real science. Let's put the music program back into school, all right? Music is very therapeutic. Hey-o. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. But anyway, so... yeah, it's funny because it's hard to put how do you put, and that's the thing with our society of how it's been so manipulated and turned us into these, like, essentially just these bots, these consumers, just basically consumers, and let me go back, because I realize I didn't finish this story I wanted to say about how they create the dynamic of the life we live and how it's detrimental to us. Basically, people will never find out who they really are, because I went on that whole tangent about encouraging the kid, but you never really find out who you are, so you just kind of grow up always grasping, right? I mean, like, people are always just grasping, even in adults. I mean, because adults have never solved their childhood issues, right? So, like, most of them don't even realize they have childhood issues. And I'm not saying that to point fingers. We all have childhood issues, and it's another thing. Matter of fact, next time I have my brother on, that's what I should, he and I should talk about, because the childhood trauma stuff is like really deep, and people don't realize that it really is what affects all your little behaviors and new things that just freak you out for no reason. You get upset or this, that, or the other. Really kind of go back to unresolved childhood trauma issues. And if you're able to realize the dynamics of your family and, certain things of, how you may have felt scared or abandoned or abused or whatever may have happened, we all have a level of something, even if we had a nice, quote unquote, perfect family, there's still levels of miscommunication and what's the pecking order of the family and all that kind of thing. So anyway, people don't realize they have the childhood trauma, and they're just growing up grasping at whatever. Again, running the program, Pavlov's Farm, that's the program that they're running. They run that program out there through media, through the news, through Hollywood, through advertising, through the products, through everything, right? And, you're just grasping at straws. I got to be a somebody. I want to be a somebody. I need, blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, well, I'll be happy once I get this job. I'll be happy, that once I get the car. I'll be happy once I have a spouse. I'll be happy once I have kids, and do. And it goes on and on. And then, by the time you get to be, and I've, now that I've lived some years and be able to reflect back, it's really interesting dynamic. I mean, you grow up, being conditioned, through your younger years of going through the indoctrination of the school systems, and then, after that, you hit your, let's say, around 20. Now you're either still in college or whatever, but you're out in the world, and now now I'm out, I'm an adult, I'm on my own, I gotta, show myself, and then you start get some job that's oppressing you and treating you like crap, basically, these crazy corporate office, all that kind of stuff, job like I was talking about yesterday a bit. If you didn't see that, you can go back and check it out. But Anyway, and and then you're not happy really, essentially, because again, you're not doing something that flows naturally, so you're not happy, right? And you just wind up, and then you get, you're not like, that's the thing, and that's why the relationships fail so much, and not all of them, obviously, but I mean, how many fail? A lot, right? Because like, no one's really kind of self-actualized or happy with themselves, and then they get involved with somebody else. Now you got two people who are not happy with themselves, getting mad at each other because the other person's not making them happy, when they don't realize that the only way to be happy is for you to make yourself happy. And the only way to make yourself happy is to have the understanding of the bigger picture, that you're more than just your essence of your personality and your body, and you have to be responsible for that and tune into that. And then you know what your path is. Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah, we got to be positive, baby. Hey-o. We got to be positive. You see what I'm saying? That's my natural flow. Sorry if it's a little abrasive in certain ways, but what can I do? I mean, I am what I am. But anyway, all that type of stuff. And you wind up growing up, and, by the time you hit your 40s or something, you start realizing, like, F it, man. I've been living by somebody else's rules all the time, or this, that, or the other. And, even if a family that stays together, I mean, I see these people, by the time they're like, 60, 70, that's it. I mean, they're done. They're on tons of meds, or they barely can walk. They can't breathe. I mean, I see people my age and, like, not even much older, and I just can never believe it. I don't even feel like I'm the same age as these people. It's just like, I don't understand, It's like, think about it. It's like a program. You're born, they feed you the information, you run through the little, maze, the way they tell you to run through the little maze to get your little piece of cheese, and then by, 60, you're on meds, and you're praying to God that you're going to make it to 70, and I'm not criticizing people for it. I'm trying to just bring awareness to the fact that, like, we don't have to live that way. It's more than that, right? We can choose. And, there's nothing wrong with, like, people get all, like, even, funny about being healthy. It's like, oh, look at this guy. He wants to eat healthy, or he gets, like it's no big deal. Like, what are you going to do? You got to eat Oreos. Like, what I mean? You don't have to eat Oreos. You really, really don't. Like, it's like, once you get away from, you can't imagine how many beautiful, tasty, natural foods are out there that, you don't need freaking Oreos. I'm saying Oreos are designed. It's not even food. It's freaking literal poison that they designed in a lab because they know it's addictive. The same thing with Doritos. The same thing with McDonald's, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can just go down the list, and it's all crap, and it's all designed to make you sick. And then you wind up on the pharmaceuticals, and they make you more sick. And you go, oh, well, I'm sick, and, life is tough. I just want to enjoy something, so I'll eat more Doritos. Yeah, it's like, I eat more Doritos. They got you. They know what they're doing, and they got you. But yeah, so that's the kind of awareness, like, we're just trying to bring to say, we have to, let's look beyond, let's look at a bigger picture and see, how much, power and stuff we have, and the way our society's created. I mean, even the jobs, everything's created in such a haphazard, not flowing way. I saw a guy talk about, it was really cool. He was talking about the difference between architects and builders, and he was talking about how, and this guy's like, a multi-millionaire type of guy. And he says, people laugh when I tell them my house is only 1,600 square feet. And he said, but I feel like it's so spacious, and I never feel confined in any way because of the way it's designed, the way one room flows into the next and such. It's like, it just gives that essence of the space, because everything is perception ultimately, right? And that's another way, like, the powers that be, again, you have to remember, and this is going back to the basic, we're on Pavlov's farm, right? And, we are all conditioned little dogs, cattle, basically, under their care, and they designed, and they know that a house built a certain way is going to mentally make you feel a certain way, or certain colors, or certain sounds, even with music, right? They changed the hertz of the music from 4 something to 4 something, whatever, years ago. Classical music plays at this hertz a different level, and it actually enhances consciousness. And most of the pop music and stuff, like Beyonce, and I hate to trash like on Beyonce or those type of artists and stuff, because I know people love them and all that, but like they're part of the system. They're not, to me, like I don't even think like somebody like Beyonce is like just a person that came up, became a singer and got famous. That was somebody that was groomed for that position, for that role, for that message, to reach that audience. And it's just part of like what goes on. I know how it sounds sometimes, like people like, think everything's too much and it's all conspiracy and all this type of stuff. But I don't think, we're watching what's going on in the world today. You've been around, right? At least since 2020, and you see what's happening and what's coming out. It's all unprecedented. You've never, we've always known corruption or this, that, and the other, but the level that we're seeing now and the realization of how it's all intertwined together, multiple levels just disseminated down through our society at all facets. It's it's really amazing, and it's, again, like I always talk about, it's not about getting mad. It's not about good, bad, right, wrong, and let's hang the bad person from a tree and all that kind of crap. No, it's not even. It's about. All I say is all the time is what we align our vibrations and energy to, what we put our attention on, that is what becomes the reality. So it's really simple. And it's about becoming aware. That's what I talk about all the time here. Operation Status Quo is observation, right? Observation of the status quo. Realize what's going on. And then you can create your own flow. I'm not just saying that crap, right? You create your own flow by what you align with. And again, of course, there's always going to be circumstances. We are in this world. We are, all together in certain ways, and things are going on. So you have to mitigate whatever circumstances. But it's all up to you what you feel inside, and what happens in your everyday life, is really based on what you put out and what you believe and what you want to see. So we don't have to worry about going after the bad people, or trying to, burn them at the stake, or, revolution and, all that kind of stuff. I get it, from the human level, I get you want, these people did harm, and they've hurt not just you personally, your family, your generations of family, they're intending to hurt generations of your family moving forward, and like use you and not let you be your full potential. So forget about them. We don't have to attack them and fight them. All we have to do is stop participating in the system, and then poof, we create our own world, our own way. There's people living in places and communities they've built together. They've got no TVs. They have nothing. They're growing food and living. People say, oh, that would be boring or something. Would it be boring? Would it be boring every day to get up and just be in touch with nature and earth and, have socialization with, like-minded people, and you're learning, you're growing things, you're building things. I don't know, right? You're just kind of going inside, you're being what you are, putting it forth with the group. I don't know. To me, it sounds like a much nicer way of life. I'm not sure what we're running for, and even the people who are, into the system or want all the things. Just take a second to just step back and think about, what does it even mean to have all those things? You worked hard, you have a, $1 million house, or, plus 2 other, vacation home in Paris, and, you got a boat, or you got this and you got that. It's all great stuff, and there's nothing wrong with having anything. But at the end of the day, is that like, what is that? Does that fill you up? Where does that get you is what I mean, as far as like your journey? Because even if you're healthy or whatever, you're still going to pass away at some point. So, what is the point of your journey? Why are you here? Just to accumulate, and then what? Then it goes away, and you say, I lived a good life. I got everything I could. But at the end is the end. It's still the end, which isn't really the end, and that's the whole point, So that's why less focus on materialism, let's focus on like the things that they're trying to tell us that are important, that we need in our lives to be happy. A good example today is, I was out today and I saw these 2 kids. They're probably around like 15 to 17 age. I was over by the pool. Actually, I was swimming in the pool. Thank you. I love Florida. I get to do my afternoon swim. So, anyway, I was in the pool, and these 2 kids were sitting there, and I watched them, and they didn't look at each other. They were friends. They came in together and then sat down. And then they both, boom, heads down into their phones. They didn't look at each other. They didn't talk to each other. They didn't look up. They didn't look around. Talk about Pavlov's dogs and, being on Pavlov's farm. You can't, and it's interesting. I was thinking of this, looks like as an older person a little bit compared to someone who's a younger teen or something, I start getting like, look at these kids, blah, 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 like an old man. But I said, well, that's how they grew up. If they're 15, they've had phones since they were born. It's all this stuff has been in their face since they were born. born. And it's just interesting. It's the next level of programming. Each generation, little by little, you go back from the baby boomers. Let's just go to the baby boomers. That's my mom's generation, right? And television came out in 1948, started being in people's homes. That was like, the step one, in a way of just getting people like, oh, there's a screen and people come on the screen and there's a show once a week or something, right? But then that develops into, before you know it, it's like everybody's got 10 TVs in their house. And then you get the phone and you're carrying the phone and then you got the earbuds plugged in your ears and the watch on your wrist and you're like, and it's just all like level of programming. And so anyway, I'm going to leave it at this, Pavlov's farm, basically, that's where we are. We're on Pavlov's farm. Our society is just a conditioned stimuli response scenario, basically, and it's up to us. I mean, the most important takeaway I think here is remembering that you have the power, and remember, and not to say, not even that it has to be a thing about like, oh, you're being tricked or something's wrong or or conspiracy or anything. It's really about realizing like who you are. I wanted to ask those kids today. I thought to myself, well, I almost want to ask these kids like, what does life mean to you? Like, what do you want to, what does it mean to you to be alive? Like, what do you think about as far as like, what you would want your life to be as you move forward? I'm thinking, can you imagine if I went and asked those kids, they're just like, what? My life? What life? I didn't even know I had a life. I'm just on TikTok. That's all. I'm just on TikTok. I don't want no trouble. No, not the piano. Oh, easy now, guys. Oh. I'm sorry. I had the piano moving company here today to bring the piano downstairs, and they had a little accident. But anyway, that's it. Long story short, and long story even shorter, and a long story getting too long. Basically, you have the power. Just remember. That's the last thing I wanted to say. It's so important. You have to be mindful and be understanding of the fact that you're receiving information, like even if you're watching me, like, you should be listening to what I'm saying and critically evaluating it in your mind of what, not just like take it all in and just let it, it's subliminal, it's subconscious. You just like have stuff on in the background and it's just in your head, and you don't even realize it, and especially if you're someone more on the mainstream and whatever, watching Netflix and, you care about what's on TV and, all that kind of stuff. And you're watching the news and believing it's real. I mean, all that stuff is just programming in your brain and, basically taking you further away from your truth, your divinity, and the real power you have to live your life as blissfully, happily, and peacefully as you would like. So, and they don't want that. That's for darn sure. They don't want peace, bliss, and happiness. So anyway, that's it here today. Operation Status Quo. Again, we observe the status quo. We learn to flow with the quo. And of course, we create our own flow of quo, because that's the only way to go. And that's what we got to do. So be aware, pay attention to what's going on, be a critical observer, thinker, don't just let it, be mindful of when you're kind of just daydreaming and just taking it in and like, oh, and every thought you have, and if you're thinking to yourself, oh, I don't feel like good today. I mean, I'm just saying whatever you feel is what you're creating. So just be mindful of that and how much power you have over that. You're more than just a widget or somebody with a credit card to go buy some shit or a consumer of their bullshit products. I mean, we don't need it. We don't need it. We have it. It's all right in here. Okay. So that's it. So please, ladies and gentlemen, I love you guys out there individually as well as a group. You know that. I say it all the time, and it is probably the truest thing I ever say on this show. I love you individually as well as a group. It is absolutely true. And what else? Please, I ask you to take the time to like, subscribe, share, send this out to your friends, family, those you love, those you despise. Don't forget, I go live basically 5 days a week. So, click your little notification bell and you'll know when I go on live and you'll be able to chime in. You are welcome here. I love you and you're welcome here. So whatever you want to share, I mean, you don't have to come on. Some people are shy, but you can send me an email with some messages you'd like me to share. I'd be happy to do that. You can drop comments in the comment box and, all that kind of stuff. Or you can just contact me, which my contact information is in the description box below. So you can get in touch with me and I'd be happy to get in touch with you, but not touch you though, because that would be illegal in today's world. We can't just touch somebody. Reach out and touch someone. Remember that commercial? I wonder, that's AT&T, right? Reach out and touch someone. I wonder how much trouble they would get in today for saying that. Oh, you know, AT&T put out a commercial. They said reach out and touch someone, and someone touched someone, and now they're suing AT&T. AT&T says, AT&T's, we recommend that, although our commercial says reach out and touch someone, we do not recommend that anyone actually touch someone without consent. All right. So, yeah, please, all that stuff, like, subscribe, share. I love you guys, seriously. It's so much fun to have the opportunity to come here and speak with you every day. I really appreciate it. I'm lucky to have you as my audience, and I'm glad that you're here. So stay strong, stay positive, and let's clean up Pavlov's farm and make it a beautiful playland for all of us, right? All right, I'm P. Palmer. This is Operation Status Quo. Till tomorrow, it's Operation Status Quo. Disengaged.